You're listening to Coupled With, the podcast that helps you take the guesswork out of feeling seen, heard, and valued in your relationship. If you've ever felt stuck in the same arguments, struggled to stay connected, or wondered how to better communicate with your partner, you're in the right place. I'm Dr. Rachel Orleck, a couples therapist and coach, and together, we're going to make relationships make sense. Let's dive in. You love them. You really do. But lately, it feels like you're living with a really competent roommate. Someone you co-parent with, share a Netflix queue with, maybe even laugh with. But the spark? Gone. You brush shoulders in the kitchen and nothing happens. The little jolt that used to light up your body feels like it packed its bags and left sometime between the sleepless nights, the endless to-do lists, and the thousand small resentments that never seem to get voiced. And if you're honest, it's not that you don't want your partner. It's that you can't seem to find that part of you anymore. The one that used to flirt, laugh too loud, or get lost in a single touch. You keep thinking, what's wrong with me? Or worse, what's wrong with us? You've tried date nights, the new lingerie, the just make an effort pep talks. But the truth is, effort doesn't create chemistry. Safety does. Because here's what no one tells you. Attraction isn't just about physical appearance or novelty. It's about the space between you feeling safe enough to come alive again. Desire doesn't die, it just hides. It goes underground when your nervous system is flooded with stress and routine and exhaustion. You can't light a spark underwater. You can't feel playful when your brain is in survival mode. The distance you feel isn't proof that you've fallen out of love. It's proof that your body's been in self-protection for too long, and it's in a really hard season of life. This episode isn't about fixing your libido or pretending you're 22 again. It's about understanding why your body goes quiet in love and how to slowly, gently start waking it back up. You're not broken, and neither is your relationship. You're just caught in this season of numbness that makes total sense. And if you can bring even 2% more curiosity, 2% more courage, you can start remembering what it feels like to be lovers again. Let's paint a picture of what this actually looks like in real life. A couple sits on my couch. Let's call them roommates. They love each other deeply. They're kind, funny, and share the same vision for their family. But when I ask, when was the last time you felt drawn to each other? They both pause. Then one of them laughs nervously and says, drawn? Like sexually? It's been a while. They look at each other and shrug. They're not angry. They're just sad. They don't want to hurt each other. And this didn't happen overnight. It's rarely one big betrayal or dramatic event. It's the slow erosion that happens when survival mode takes over. The endless logistics. Who's doing daycare drop-off? Who's paying that bill? Those start replacing intimacy with efficiency. The tiny touches and glances that used to feel electric start feeling like background noise. One day, you realize you haven't really seen each other in months. Not because you stopped loving each other, but because you've been living in autopilot. The roommate phase is one of the most common and most painful seasons of long term partnership. It often shows up during early parenthood, career stress, or caregiving years. Those times when every ounce of energy goes towards holding life together. Your nervous system starts prioritizing functioning over pleasure. It's not that you're uninterested, it's that your body doesn't have bandwidth to want it. So you tell yourself, this is just what marriage becomes. But deep down, you grieve the loss of aliveness that you used to share. And that grief comes with shame. You scroll through social media and see other couples looking blissful and think, man, what's wrong with us? You start believing attraction should be spontaneous, that it should appear out of nowhere like a spark in a movie scene. But that's not how real desire works, especially when stress, exhaustion, or hormones are involved. What used to be effortless now requires intention. And that doesn't mean the spark is gone forever. It means that you're being invited to rebuild it differently. The shift from lovers to roommates isn't proof that love died. It's proof your body and your relationship have been in overdrive for a really long time. And this season doesn't mean that your marriage is broken. It means it's asking for a reset. You can't force attraction back with effort. You can learn to create the conditions where your body feels safe enough to want again. Most couples in this phase think they have an attraction problem, but what they really have is a safety problem. We've been taught that desire is this lightning bolt moment, instant chemistry, spontaneous lust, constant readiness. And when it's not there, we assume something went wrong with us, or worse, with our relationship. But desire doesn't thrive on pressure or performance. It thrives on connection. When your nervous system doesn't feel safe or relaxed, the part of your brain responsible for wanting goes completely offline. When you're constantly managing work, parenting, finances, or health, your body isn't scanning for pleasure, it's scanning for survival. The brain can't be both the project manager and the lover at the same time. So attraction doesn't disappear, it just gets buried under stress and logistics. It's not that you don't find your partner attractive anymore. It's that your body is living in a constant state of do not disturb. And our culture doesn't help. It glorifies the spontaneous kind of desire, usually portrayed as the masculine default, the effortless, ever ready spark. But most people, in general, especially women, experience responsive desire. Desire doesn't appear out of thin air. It builds once safety, connection, or tenderness is present. And it's not inferior, it's relational. Yet we're constantly told that it's a broken way of being. So instead of nurturing connection, we chase after lost spontaneity like it's the gold standard. It's not. It's just one version of arousal in a culture that only celebrates one. And then life adds another layer. Hormones. In postpartum years, perimenopause, or even menopause, so many women panic when their drive dips. They're told that they've lost their femininity or need to fix it with more supplements, hormones, or hustle. But your body isn't broken. It's communicating. It's asking for rest, for presence, and for safety. The erotic self can't bloom in a body that feels rushed or unseen. You don't need to chase your old spark. You need to rebuild the foundation that allowed it to exist in the first place. So let's stop calling this a loss of attraction. You didn't fall out of love. You've fallen out of feeling safe. And safety is something you can rebuild together. When you stop chasing spontaneity and start creating conditions for responsiveness, your body and your relationship come back online. Desire isn't a mystery to solve. It's a signal to listen to. So let's zoom in on what's really happening beneath the surface when attraction starts to fade. When you've been living in constant stress, careers, kids, finances, aging parents, and your nervous system shifts into this survival mode. Cortisol stays high. Adrenaline keeps you alert, and oxytocin, which is the hormone that fuels connection, drops. Your body literally forgets how to relax around your partner. It's not that you don't care. It's that your body has reclassified them as a part of your to-do list instead of as your safe space. When your brain senses threat, emotional or physical, it sends all available energy toward protection. That might look like irritability, withdrawal, or numbness. And over time, your body starts to equate closeness with pressure. So when your partner reaches for you, your system flinches instead of softening. You're not rejecting them, it's just a reflex. You're not choosing disconnection. You're being pulled there by an overworked nervous system doing its best to keep you functional. From an attachment perspective, this makes perfect sense. When you no longer feel emotionally safe because of conflict, resentment, outside stress, or exhaustion, your attachment alarm starts ringing. Some people protest by demanding closeness. Why don't you ever touch me anymore? While others shut down. I'm just not in the mood. Both are protective strategies trying to restore stability. But neither creates the safety needed for attraction to return. The body can't open up when it's bracing for disappointment. So before you can reignite attraction, you have to rebuild safety. Not the kind that looks polite on the outside, but the kind that lets your shoulders drop and your breath return. Attraction isn't a task to perform. It's a byproduct of nervous systems that trust each other enough to rest. When your body feels safe, aliveness returns naturally. That's where desire begins. There is this quiet turning point in every couple's story. Usually the moment they stop asking, how do we get back to how it used to be? And start asking, what do we need now to feel close again? And that's the real invitation, because chasing the old spark keeps you stuck in comparison. What actually brings life back isn't recreating the past, it's creating safety and curiosity in the present. The chemistry will come later, once your body remembers it's allowed to feel again. Disconnection begins with survival. One day you're partners, and the next day you're co-managers of a household, a family, and endless responsibilities. Stress takes over, play disappears, and your nervous system starts running on parallel. What used to feel like closeness now is like pressure. You stop reaching for each other because reaching hasn't felt rewarding in a long time. Then the silence becomes the strategy. If I don't bring it up, we won't fight. But what feels peaceful is actually distance wearing a polite mask. Reconnection doesn't start with fireworks. It's softness, curiosity, with the smallest possible risk towards aliveness. That's where the 2% braver idea comes in. You don't need to overhaul anything. You just need to be 2% braver than yesterday. Maybe that means turning toward your partner when you usually stay quiet, letting your hand linger a little longer, saying, I miss us, instead of waiting for them to notice. Every small moment of bravery signals to your nervous system, this is still safe. I can stay open. When you both start stacking these moments, one look, one laugh, one touch, the spark doesn't return because you forced it. It returns because your bodies finally believe it's safe to be curious again. That's what makes attraction sustainable. It's not novelty. It's not performance. It's just safety and small, courageous acts repeated over time. There's really no magic formula to bring the spark back, but there is a doorway, and it's much smaller than you think. The 2% braver move isn't about strategy or seduction. It's about micro moments that invite connection back into the room. When your body's been in roommate mode for months or even years, boldness feels terrifying. But small bravery, the kind that nudges you toward aliveness without overwhelming you, is what starts rewiring safety back into desire. It's not about scheduling a weekend away or forcing intimacy because you should. It's turning toward each other in the moments that used to pass unnoticed. Reaching for their hand when your instinct is to scroll on your phone. Sending a text that says, I miss you. Lingering in a hug for 10 seconds longer, even if it feels kind of awkward. These micro invitations, not grand gestures, are what slowly teach both of your nervous systems that closeness feels good and safe again. And yes, I'll say it again. Sometimes that first touch feels awkward, especially if it's been a while. That's not a sign that something's wrong. It's just unfamiliar. It's like picking up an instrument that you haven't played in years. Your body might sound a little out of tune at first. But what matters isn't how smooth it feels. It's your willingness to stay engaged, to stay curious as long as it feels safe and even a little bit pleasurable. And you can laugh at those awkward moments. That's how comfort and connection start rebuilding themselves again. The safety and the spark feed each other. When you feel emotionally seen, your body relaxes. When your body relaxes, desire has room to breathe. This is the heart of responsive arousal. It wakes up after connection. So your 2% braver moment isn't about performance. It's about signaling openness. You're saying, we're still here. It's okay to reach. If that feels too small to matter, remember, every wildfire starts from a single spark. Desire doesn't rush back. It trickles in through these tiny, constant acts of courage. You don't need to force it or compare it to what it used to be or compare it to what you see on social media. Just practice showing up a little bit more alive, a little bit more curious. That's how you shift from functioning together to feeling alive together again. This is what I want you to remember. Attraction isn't proof of love. It's an expression of safety. The spark fades not because you stop caring, but because your body stopped feeling safe enough to relax into desire. That's what happens when life becomes a series of tasks instead of touches. You've been in survival mode, and survival isn't sexy. But the fact that you're listening, reflecting, and still wanting to want again, that's the heartbeat of connection trying to come back online. One of my clients once told me that they didn't fall back into love, they just remembered that they were on the same team. They had gone months without touching. It wasn't hostility, it was just silence. And after we started talking about safety, she reached for his hand on the couch. He said later that it was like his body exhaled for the first time in years. Over time, those tiny gestures multiplied. The spark didn't return overnight, but one evening, they laughed until they cried and said, "There it is." That's what reconnection looks like. Not fireworks, but bodies remembering how to meet each other again. So if you're feeling like roommates right now, please know this. It's not a death sentence. It's an invitation. You don't need a grand romantic overhaul. You just need small moments of presence that tell your body, we're okay. A slow exhale while you make eye contact, a gentle shoulder brush in the hallway. These aren't empty gestures. They're nervous system medicine. They remind both of you that it's safe to soften again. From there, desire can start to breathe. And every couple cycles between connection and disconnection. What matters is how you return. The couples who make it aren't the ones who never lose the spark. They're the ones who learn how to relight it. This week, noticing one micro moment where you could be 2% braver, a compliment or a touch, or a longer glance, that's not performance. You're just working on signaling safety. And you don't have to fix everything. You just start running towards each other instead of away. That's how the spark finds its way home. So if you take nothing else from today, please remember that distance isn't proof that you failed. It's actually proof that you still care. People who don't care don't long for closeness. They just detach. The fact that you're here, wanting to feel more alive together, means love is still present. It just needs safety to breathe again. So next time you catch yourself going through the motions, pause. Notice the moment your body starts to shut down and take one small breath longer before moving away. That pause is the bridge back to connection. Every time you soften instead of retreating, you're reminding your body it is safe to feel again. And if you happen to live in the state of Washington, I currently have 1 to 2 openings in my private practice for new therapy clients. If you've been wanting support to break old patterns and build more secure, connected relationships, you can learn more or inquire at www.meaningfuljourneycounseling.com. And don't worry, I'll leave it in my show notes. That's it for today's episode of Coupled With. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to hit subscribe so you never miss what's next. And if you found it helpful, please share it with a friend or leave a quick rating and review. It really helps more than you know. And if you're curious about how we might work together or want more resources to strengthen your relationship, head over to my website, www.drrachelorleck.com. You'll find free tools, podcast extras, and ways to go deeper. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next time.